Bernardo Silva, he's been linked with a move away from Man City for like the last 3 summers. And it seems like this transfer window might actually be the one where he ends up getting out of there. Now, he's mostly been linked with the move to Barcelona. I think that's where he wants to go. Like, if he was able to pick and just join them without having to worry about the finances and negotiating and all this other stuff that might complicate that deal, I think he would go to Barca. And it makes sense. City are a better team than Barcelona right now, but Barca are just a much bigger club. So it makes sense that he'd want to go there. You saw Gundo leave City for Barcelona. I think, yeah, Bernardo Silva would leave them for Barca as well. On top of that, living in Spain is a much better quality of life than living in England. I mean, like, come on, bro. Like, England, the weather's always gloomy. It's raining. The food sucks. Like, I wouldn't want to live in England either if I could live in Spain, right? And play for a huge club out there. But recently, aside from Barcelona, he's also been getting linked with the move to Bayern Munich. And I think this would be an excellent deal for Bayern to get done if they can, right? I think Vincent Company, the way that they're saying he wants to play football, possession-based, attacking, I think people were saying that he either runs a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-1-4-1, or he runs like a 4-3-3. I think in any of those systems, there's always room for Bernardo Silva because Bernardo Silva is one of the best players in the world. I actually think he's very underrated. And if his release clause is 50 million, yeah, I think every club should be looking to trigger that deal because every club can use Bernardo Silva. There's not many players that are like him out there. This guy could play as an attacking midfielder. He could play on the wings. He can drop a little bit deeper and play as a center mid. And his quality, it shows every single week. I think City losing Bernardo Silva would be a big blow for them. And I don't know how they'd be able to replace him. I'm not saying that there's nobody out there that can do a similar job to him, but I don't think that there's going to be anybody that they can get next season that's going to be able to have the same kind of impact on that team that Bernardo has had. Really good play. I rate him highly. I think he's quality. Now, I know, for Portugal, he doesn't really play as well. And some people say, oh, yeah, outside of the City system, it's not looking good in the light. They say that about like KDB as well. But I think Bernardo Silva is better than Kevin De Bruyne. And I would take him at Real Madrid every day of the week because he is quality, bro. He's so good on the ball. He slows down the game. You can't get the ball off of him, bro. And Bayern thinks to be an excellent signing for them. I think he slots right in the midfield. You could also play him on the left wing. You could play him on the right wing. And him, Jamal Musiala, Olise, Leroy Sané, Harry Kane. Yeah, man, that's a good attack. That is a very good attack. Yo, I try to tell people, Bayern Munich are not going to be messing around this summer. I know that their board are pissed off about losing that Bundesliga title. They didn't win anything last season. For the first time since I've started watching this sport, Bayern Munich went trophyless. Never seen that done before to them. So I already know that they were going to have a big summer. I knew that they were going to respond. They already made 2 signings at the time of this recording underneath Company. They signed some defender from Stuttgart who looks really good. And then they signed Olise. They're not done. They're also going to be selling a few players as well. And they're going to bring in some more players. And I think Bayern are going to run away with the league next season. I back Company to do really well there. And if they bring in Bernardo Silva, oh my gosh, bro. Like, Bayern are one of the clubs that have the highest standards in world football. Aside from Real Madrid, who has higher standards than Bayern Munich? They sack managers even if they do win the Bundesliga. You still might get sacked because that's not enough. And I think that's how clubs should be run, especially when you're at the elite and when you're at the top. Because I think Bayern, for as shit as they were last season, they were still in the Champions League semifinal. Think about that. Imagine if they add a player of Bernardo Silva's quality. And I know he's 29 years old, but I think it gets a little bit overblown, right? How people just make it out like, oh, if you're over a certain age, then you're just washed. Bro, Bernardo Silva is the kind of player that can play at a high level until he's like 34, 35. And then even then, I think he can still be at a high level. Look at like a Luka Modric or Toni Kroos. I think Bernardo Silva can be just like that in terms of you're 36, 37 years old, still being able to play at the top level and put in good performances week in, week out. He's that good, in my opinion. Maybe I'm overrating him a bit, but this would be an excellent signing for Bayern. Only 50 million. You guys see, transfer market has him valued at 70. But again, I think he does want to leave Man City. I think Pep has had to convince him the last few seasons to stay. But would he go to Bayern? I don't see why not. But I do believe he wants that Barcelona move. But I just don't think Barca are going to spend 50 million on a player that's 29 years old. They should buy him, but I just can't see it, especially if they don't have the money like that anyways. I think that they'd want to go for a younger player. But I think he'd be a great signing for Barca. I think he'd be a great signing for anybody. And if I was Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, PSG, I don't know, Napoli, any of these elite clubs, I would be trying to call up Juve, right? Thiago Mata's now there. I would be calling up his agent and saying, what would it take for Bernardo to want to come to my club? But maybe I'm just overrating him. I think Man City, I would not want to lose him, bro. I would be doing everything in my power to try to keep him. But you guys let me know what you think about Bernardo Silva. And also let me know if you think he'd be a good fit at Bayern Munich. I think he would tear the Bundesliga up. He's not a guy that gets a lot of GA, right? I know that's how a lot of, especially younger people or just social media aged people rate players, right? Oh, look, he scored 30 goals or he scored 20 goals and got 10 assists. I don't really rate players solely based off GA. I first go off the eye test. But I do agree that stats matter. But I got to look at what I'm seeing first because stats can be misleading, right? Like Darwin Núñez. He puts up big numbers. He scores goals. But when I watch him for a full game on a week in, week out basis, he's missing a lot of sitters. He can't finish like that. It's not that impressive. But the numbers will have you think it's something else. Bruno Fernandes is another example of the numbers. Even though I think Bruno... See, I don't rate Bruno, but I understand why his numbers look like that at Man United, for example. But again, I just think he's another player where I think if you just went off the stats, you would rate him very highly. But if you watched him on a week in, week out basis, I don't think that you'd rate him as highly as you probably do, right? The guy's a midfielder that can't control the ball. Point is, Bernardo Silva would tear up the Bundesliga, and if he's able to slow down the game in the Premier League, a much faster and physical league than what they got going on in Germany, imagine what he'll do in a slower league when he has even more time on the ball, especially if he's playing lesser competition. He will go crazy. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just rating him too highly.